Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Resilient Riches. We have Stacey St John, who runs the largest Facebook page for women who are looking to invest in the short-term rental market. Not only has she taken a small fraction of her money, of $50,000, and turned it into a multiple seven-figure real estate portfolio, she also advises, consults, and creates communities for women to empower themselves to create financial independence through property, through advisory, through information, and through love. And that's what we love so much about Stacy. She's really changed the world. And what we've been saying is that the women's empowerment movement needs to take off, and there needs to be more and more pioneers just like Stacy. And we're thrilled, excited. I don't know if elaborate is a word, but that's not a word. We're elated. Is elated a word? Elated.
I think we're going a little overboard, but it's elated you could use. Not a made-up word that you usually try to sneak through.
Progress over perfection. If anyone is looking, progress over perfection, Dad.
Well, perfection is boring. What do you want me to say?
It is. And I am a recovering perfectionist, which is why I have these behind me.
Just to remind you. Smart. Stacy, give us your origin story, and then let's get right into it. We have a lot of questions for you. We're excited.
Oh, gosh. I'm so excited to be here, and thank you for having me. I'm delighted. So a little bit about me. Before I got into the world of real estate investing, I was working in the corporate world, and I found that the higher and higher I climbed on the corporate ladder, the less and less time I had for myself. I was working 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week, and I was exhausted, and I was really I felt very trapped by the golden handcuffs. I wanted to get out of my corporate job, and I earned a really healthy living. I stumbled on real estate investing, and I started actually investing by accident, which is a story in and of itself. But I discovered the incredible power that real estate can do to unlock financial freedom. And so fast forward to today, I now obviously have stepped away from the corporate world. Thank you to my real estate investment portfolio. And as you mentioned, I have the distinct pleasure of helping other people on their real estate investing and short-term rental journeys as well. And it's something that I absolutely love doing. So it's exciting to be here with you.
That's amazing. And there was a very interesting study that just came out. CNBC had a study about women's independence and financial literacy, and that 93% of women across the U.S. actually feel uncomfortable when it comes to their finances. And there needs to be people who are actually changing it. We had an amazing guest on the podcast a little while ago, Kobe Halperin, who's the famous fashion designer, probably the fastest growing fashion designer in the world right now. And he was saying that we need more women in power, and we need more women in leadership roles. And right now, I think the basis and the initial conversations needs to be around communities and around empowerment of and unity amongst the female community in the women's world. How did you get the idea to start such a pioneering event or a pioneering Facebook group?
You know, it actually happened by accident. So quite candidly, there was never some mastermind behind it. It was, I have my real estate license. I was approached by another real estate agent. And at the time I was buying property at the beach, and he had clients that were buying property at the beach. And he said, "Hey, I don't know the first thing about buying vacation rentals at the beach. And my clients are asking me questions, and I don't know how to answer them. Can you help me put some information together for them?" So I said, "Sure, yeah, no problem." I started making a list of what I thought would be helpful for his clients to know. And it dawned on me that, hey, I've been doing this for a while now, so it's hard to remember what I didn't know when I started. So I had popped into another Facebook group for women in real estate investing and just asked, hey, if you were buying a property at the beach or buying a vacation rental, what would you want to know? And the floodgates opened. There were just hundreds and hundreds of comments. And someone said with a comment, "You should start a Facebook group about this." And I was like, yeah, I know how to run a Facebook group. I can do that. And it is, that's how it started. But what I very quickly recognized is I wanted to create something different. I wanted to create a safe space where women could come together and ask questions and not be judged and not be belittled by other people's comments. In my Facebook group, as an example, you act like that to someone, you are gone. You are kicked out.
Good.
It
And
is
how many people are in the Facebook group?
Right now we've got just over 58,000 women who eat,
And how
sleep,
Quite a
active
few.
is it?
Oh yeah, lot, very active, very active.
Like one or two. It's like it feels like 100 posts a day.
Yeah, it's a lot, and quite candidly, I decline probably about half the posts that come in, because if someone is posting to boast themselves or to be braggadocious, no, I'm sorry, that's not going out in my community. My community is about helping other people, getting them plugged into knowledge, giving them, again, a safe space to ask questions and get help that they need. But what I've discovered throughout this journey is it's lit a fire within me to help other people, women especially, unlock their best future through the power of, investing in real estate. And also secondarily to that, helping women understand that female empowerment starts with them. They have to believe they're worthy. They have to believe that they have a voice and their voice matters.
Why is it? So let's just say I understand that in a toxic relationship, husband controls the finances, and we've dealt with many, many, many women who have gone through these horrible divorces. We actually opened up a nonprofit sector, or a nonprofit sector in our own business to help women who have gone through divorce, foreclosure, debt. We were just on a call now. Somebody just found out not found out. He just finally opened up that he's in $500,000 of debt and he doesn't know what to do. So I'm helping him through it. So I understand that in the divorced world, in the widowed world, in the abuse, rape, all these terrible things. But what about women who aren't in that world? How come they don't feel that they have a voice?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I feel like it's more of a mindset than anything. And I'll give you an example. For my own podcast, I asked someone to come on and be a guest. And she said to me, Stacy, I haven't really done anything special. And I believe that everyone can learn from someone else's story, right? So I love learning about people's experiences. I love learning about what they've learned through their own experiences and how their journey has gotten them to where they are today. And her response to me was really interesting, where she felt internally as if she wasn't, quote, worthy. Okay. So whether you're in a marriage where, like me, I've been married 30 years, I have an incredible husband. And I've never, thankfully, been in a situation where I've gone through anything traumatic like that. But at the same time, I think it's about how we think about ourselves and give ourselves permission to be an advocate for ourselves. And a lot of women, unfortunately, don't necessarily advocate for themselves. And candidly, from a societal perspective, a lot of times we are called not so nice names when we advocate for ourselves.
It was fun. I heard something funny. It's for a woman to stand, and like there was a woman in politics. I don't. Maybe you told me the story. There was a woman in politics and a man in politics, and the man was very strong, very very like defiant, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's a strong politician." And there was a woman who was doing the exact same thing, but what did they label her as? A bitch.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end of the day, they're doing the exact same thing, but
Mm-hmm.
I find it that there's always I don't necessarily believe so much in the wealth disparity between men and women, or the that women make less than men. I don't necessarily subscribe to that, because I don't believe in censuses. I don't believe in like small pools to get large data, but I do believe that there is a perspective on how people judge women versus people judge men. And I find that people judge women much harsher than they judge men. We feel that in the Jewish community, we feel that the Jews are judged much more aggressively than people who aren't Jewish. We're a very small percentage. We're a very small community. We see it. We could talk about Israel, how we feel double standard, but in general, how we grew up, we were always taught that, listen, they are going to judge you aggressively. So you need to make sure that you are so much better and you are so much cleaner in your business and your language and the way that you conduct business, the way you conduct yourselves and how you carry yourselves and how you dress, everything like that. How do people get past this double standard? What does the world need to do to get past this double standard against women?
Well, that's a great question.
Thank you.
I am going to go out on a limb. Okay. And I am going to say that it starts with women. It starts with the way that women, again, when we give ourselves permission to be an advocate for ourselves, when we give ourselves permission to have a voice, and I'm not saying we don't in general from a big picture perspective, but from an individual person's mindset, sometimes it's easy for a woman to second guess herself, to feel like, oh my gosh, I don't deserve to have that level of financial success, or I'm fine where I am playing small. I think it's important for women to understand that they can have anything that they dream of, right? It's important to have the right mindset first and learn how to really train your brain for success and reverse engineer your dreams. There's nothing wrong with having dreams, and you should have dreams. And a lot of women, I think, put their dreams aside because they're caring for other people, right? So there's nothing wrong with taking care of yourself, being an advocate for yourself, and bossing up and showing up for yourself.
But I would say also, I mean, it's also fine. I mean, if a woman doesn't want to be that career pursuer, or she doesn't want to, and I mean, that's fine also. I mean, it's all okay. As long as, I think what you're really saying is that they have to make, it has to be their own decision, their own choice. They shouldn't be pressured or by societal demands or whatnot, but whatever their decision is, that's fine. I mean, I'm surrounded by strong women, so I really don't relate that well to what you're saying. Actually, the women that I knew, my mother, my daughter, my wife, they all just, my mother-in-law, they all just do what they want to do. So it's an interesting, it's like it's an area that I'm not so familiar with, because the women that I know, it's I have to fight for what I want.
And it loses.
Typically, I lose.
I was going to say, how does that usually turn out?
Not so good for me.
Not so great. No, and I think, again, I am coming at it from the mindset of a woman in business, right? Where someone who is an entrepreneur, whether you are investing in real estate or you have your own, art studio, or, whatever your path is, to your point, it is totally okay. If being in business doesn't light you up, don't do it, right? I find that so many women, because we are oftentimes head of taking care of our families, we are working, we are taking care of our houses, we are playing chauffeur, we're paying the bills, we're
taking care of parents, also taking care of parents,
taking care of parents. There is, and because we've got so much going on in our worlds, and I'm not saying that guys don't either, right? I realize, again,
my wife's a lot busier than I am. Just FYI. Way busier.
And because of that, we often don't prioritize taking care of ourselves. And there is a story that we tell ourselves that that's okay. There is a story that we tell ourselves that I am just going to give to other people, and my own dreams, I'm going to put those by the wayside because everybody else matters more than myself. And I think that's what I'm getting at, is it's important for women, whether you are balancing 6 kids or maybe a brand new baby at home, whatever the case might be, it is okay to serve and give to other people. But it is also okay and important that you don't put your goals and dreams for your future by the wayside. It is important for you to advocate for yourself.
If those goals and dreams are important to you. I mean, if they're
everybody's goals and dreams should be important.
I would say some people, it's not as important as others.
Well, I think what Stacy's saying, that if you have goals and dreams, those are important to you, and that meaning if the goals and dreams that you have, because everybody has goals and dreams that you have, that's what you have to stand for. Not that necessarily your goals and dreams are career or money or something like that. If your goals and dreams are to be a marathon runner, she's saying you should aspire to be a marathon runner and not put that second place because your kids want your attention every 10 seconds. And
I understand that. I'm just saying also that, maybe for that person, that goal, if she wants to be a marathon runner, maybe that is like, when she prioritizes her own goals, that might be number 2, and that's okay too. Or if it is number 1, whatever. I think what you're saying to me is that whatever your goal, you should have a strong sense of self. You shouldn't just bury whatever your own dreams and goals are, whatever they are, whatever priority they are, and you should recognize those, and those should be they're as valid as anybody else's.
Heck yeah. In my mind, everyone should have goals and dreams. It doesn't have to be business related, but to your point,
not everybody does. Not everybody does.
Okay, well, that's a problem. That is a problem.
No, he's saying not everybody has business related.
No, or any.
Right, but you're saying any, but I'm saying it's a problem. If you don't have any goals and dreams, that's a problem.
I agree with you, but a lot of people are like that, I think.
I actually agree with my dad here, Stacy. I do know women in that.
Wait a minute. We need to push pause.
This is a clip. Let me time frame. Let me timestamp this time.
What's it called? We can edit this out. Do not worry. No, actually, I do agree with my dad, because there are a lot of people, and it's not just women, but it's also men that just coast. They have no dreams and aspirations. They just want to sit and watch movies until they die.
Okay. I do know people like that too. And
I think it's a problem because you're wasting space.
I totally agree. Like, that is a problem. Operating like that is what I call passive, right? So it's like having a passive life versus having an active life.
Correct.
And in my mind, unless you are having an active life, you will absolutely... Please, if you are listening to this and you don't have any goals and dreams, please take time to think about what's important to you. Take time to carve out what lights you up as a person and build a life around that. You will bring so much more joy to this world when you do that. So I'm going to beg and plead, okay? If anybody's listening and doesn't have any goals and dreams, we need to fix that. Secondarily, when you have a passive life, I do know several people who actually have goals and dreams, but they live a passive life. They think that life just happens to them. I think very, very opposite. I think life can just happen to you if you're not intentional. You have to be intentional about what you want, intentional about what you believe, intentional about being kind to other people. And when you are intentional, you live a very active life. And the world becomes your oyster when you live a very active
we believe that 100%, 1,000%. We always want to be proactive. We want to be active. You want something, and I've always told the kids this, when you want something, it's up to you to go get it. Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to give you anything. So go out and get it, do what you want. All my kids now are actually working, which is great.
As of like 2 months ago, right? As of 2 months ago, the last little hen, the last little bird has left the nest.
Well, not sort of fluttering. It's having some trouble getting off the ground, but
but he's off the ground. No, he's in the air, but the
Yeah, but
nest
he
is
keeps
right under
flopping
him.
off back down a little bit. So we'll see.
We'll see if
Anyway.
it's consistent.
So are we going to talk about
I,
these type of things, or we're going to talk about her real estate career? What was the idea?
we could talk about whatever Stacy wants. So when you're going into short-term rentals, and this has been a question we've asked other people in the short-term rental space, how is it that somebody's able to go from 0 to 1
With $50,000?
With $50,000, let's just say, or
Well,
$10,000?
Stacey said she started with $50,000 and now turned it into a seven-figure portfolio. So that's,
Thank
I
you.
didn't know how to
Now
do
I'm
that in 2 years. How do you do that?
Yes, that's a great question. But how is it somebody I find 5 to 10 is much easier than 0 to 1. So can you talk somebody through that mindset, all of it, the process 0 to 1?
Yeah. Well, I think from the get-go, again, you have to be intentional about what you're looking for from your real estate portfolio. What are your goals? Do you have specific things you're looking for? Are you looking at a short-term rental where you want to have a property that you purchase that you are utilizing for your family to go on vacation and offsetting the cost? Or are you looking for an investment first approach where, hey, I want to capitalize on any and every revenue dollar possible, and I may utilize this every once in a blue moon? So I think first and foremost, it's outlining your goals. What is it that you want from your real estate portfolio or your first short-term rental? I also think it's important to understand what type of markets are going to be potential fits for you. So a lot of folks have some heartache around managing a short-term rental remotely. So you need to understand how, what feels comfortable to you, what kind of parameters are going to be important. For me, I didn't mind having a remote short-term rental investment, but I wanted it to be within a day's drive. I didn't want to have to fly. And that was important for me, right? Doesn't mean that other people don't, have properties that they have to fly to. So understanding, again, what your goals are with your real estate investment portfolio, what are your parameters around what you're looking for, what's your buy box, getting very clear on that, and doing a lot of market research. There is a lot of noise out there where folks just think, okay, I know what I want. Now I'm going to head over to Zillow and I'm just going to see what's out there. I'm just going to find something. And I really would encourage any listener to do some market research and really dive into what market fits these parameters. And again, what portions of that market are stronger in short-term rentals than other. There are all kinds of data tools out there that you can utilize to understand what type of markets will be good fits for you and what those markets, what kind of the sub pockets are. You need to learn how to analyze the deal. Like you need to understand how to analyze, okay, once you find a property, is this going to perform and meet my goals, right? So really understanding. Oh, go ahead.
No, I love exactly what you're saying. It's first is, and the same thing we do in our own financial services. It's first is, what are your values?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you want? Like,
Mm-hmm.
speaks to you. Second is, what are your goals? How do we marry your values and your goals and create an alignment model to make sure that you are connected towards all that and focus toward and creating a strategy that can keep those aligned and keep those true, so you feel confident, comfortable, happy, and then desire to scale.
Mm-hmm.
And desire to build and grow consistently. If your values and your goals are unaligned and your strategy is unaligned to those
Mm-hmm.
three, then there's nothing to talk about.
Yep.
That's where disconnect comes, and that's where failure comes. The goal is to keep them to succeed, and that's exactly what you're saying is what we're doing with financial services. It's very funny to hear it just from a different perspective, and we're BFAs. But behavioral financial advisors, and that's really our entire. We're like certified to do that for people, which is very rare in our industry.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I feel like so many times people go to execution mode. They're just like, I want to buy a piece of real estate and I want to buy a short-term rental. I hear Airbnb, you can make a ton of money, right? That's what people do.
Of course.
So then they go buy properties and then they're like, oh, it's not what I thought it was going to be. It's not all that, this was cracked up to be. So when you start with your goals and your vision and what you want at the top, and then everything else falls underneath it, those decisions, when they are in alignment, become very easy, right?
Yeah,
Become very clear.
100%.
Exactly.
And become more. And
And that's what we'll do.
you
We'll
become
come
more.
back and somebody, let's say we'll put together like a financial plan, for their retirement for their whole life. And now they want to go and buy like a big fancy sports car, just as an extreme example. We'll come back and say, that doesn't align with the goals and values you talked about before. I mean, you can do what you want, but that's not going to allow you to fulfill your goals that we talked about all the time. So is this really the right move to make? And when you give him that context, it makes it a much easier and simpler decision.
Yeah.
I just also want to say that with your Facebook group, it sounds like you do a lot of work. I mean, if you're going through and all those comments and taking out half of them, it sounds like a lot of work.
So but it's worth it to me. And I don't take out the comments. I just screen the posts. So I screen the people that come in and I screen the posts. Because I think it's really important that we're surrounding ourselves with positivity and encouragement, versus all the other
Negativity.
things.
Who wants negativity? What kind of, that's not, I think we're all at a stage. Who needs that? I don't need that. I don't need that in my life. And the more positivity, that's how you make things happen, by being positive also, I think. Mm-hmm. It's a funny thing. Most of the people coming, like my own daughter, I think your sister, it would be a great member for this group. She has a rental property in Poconos that she bought. Spent a lot of time doing I think a lot of the process that you were doing. It's a long-term. It's not like it's not the Airbnb model. It's more of a long-term. She looked at a lot of different properties, and now she's found something out there that I think she likes. I don't know if she's thinking of doing some more, but I think that she would be a good addition to your group. So I don't know. I don't know if you want to accept her or not, but we'll see.
58,001.
There you go.
Consultation. That's it. You just need one.
I'm going to mention it to her.
But Stacy, how are people how are they getting the basics? Like, do you recommend taking a course? Like, do you recommend are there licenses? Should you become a real estate broker? There's so many different paths to starting. Yeah. What would be the before you start? Like, do market like I don't even people like analyze properties. I don't even know what the word analyze means. I'm a nerd. Like, how do you do that?
Totally. I absolutely recommend structured education versus, a lot of folks think that they can just build a successful Airbnb property or short-term rental business off of YouTube or by reading books. And, I always advise my students, can you imagine the founder of McDonald's, as an example? Can you imagine that they just decide they're going to start this restaurant and don't have any education in either food preparation or running a business or franchising? No, you have to get educated. And so for me, I subscribe to a philosophy called knowledge hacking. It's a term that I made up. But I
make up a patent that word.
There you go, patent it. I choose to get plugged into people who have a level of success that I want to achieve, and I'm able to fast track my goal achievement because I'm able to learn from them. So I absolutely subscribe to, if you are thinking about getting in the short-term rental space, find someone, whether it's me or someone else in our industry, that you can learn from. And there are so many options out there. I happen to be one of them. So many tremendous people will teach how to analyze properties, how to go from not having any properties to having, multiples. So
Do you offer courses on this that people can sign up for?
yes,
Also, by the
I
way, I
do.
don't know if you ever saw, there was that movie about McDonald's with Michael Keaton.
I don't think I did.
It's a great movie. The original owner, the founder of McDonald's, was these two brothers or two partners, and Michael Keaton comes in and just takes it away from them, and turns it into the multi-billion-dollar franchise.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, what's this movie called? I'll just write it down.
It's not Super Size Me. It's Founder.
Oh, is it Mick Founder or
No,
Founder?
just Founder. It's a great movie.
Founder. It's a great movie. I mean, McDonald's feeds more than 1% of the world's population every single day, and then they own more property than any other real estate owner in the entire.
And actually, that was the key of Michael Keaton, is how he became successful. He says, all these franchises, they have to own the real estate, but we're gonna put that in a separate entity, and then we're gonna lease it back to the franchises. So it was the whole thing. I mean, it's really like these big companies. And I used to work in a hedge fund. We do just different companies. The whole thing is based on owning real estate.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that you're actually offering a course, because that's really what it is. It's the intimidation factor, and it speaks exactly to what are the beginning of our conversation and to this part of the conversation of, you need to have an entire vertical alignment, and the vertical alignment needs to start. Number one, you need coaching. We love coaching. Number two, you need advisors. You need to build your family office around you. Part of your advisors is your work advisors. People have work mentors. And if your work is going to be real estate and your work is going to be short-term rentals, you need a work advisor. Many others, it doesn't make a difference. It does make a difference, but it doesn't. But you still need that type of person in your life: financial, accountant, attorney, brokers, all that stuff. So you really need to surround yourself with the right people. And from there, you can gain real empowerment for yourselves and getting that confidence that you can rely on people. You have this incredible energy and passion and history in your business, but that doesn't come to everybody. There's moments in people's lives that we call them resilient stories, or defining moments, that allow you to become this successful, because when things get challenging, you're able to overcome those obstacles. Mm-hmm. What was that defining moment in your life that allowed you to become this success story that is Stacey St John?
That's a really great question.
He doesn't get two great questions. He doesn't get two compliments. It's just going to go to his head. It's just a problem. The next person that's going to come out, he's going to think every question is great. It's a real issue. So he only gets one compliment per podcast.
Only one,
and you used that up already before. I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
I probably went over these rules before.
Okay, I'm used to this abuse.
Okay, so here's a question. Am I allowed to have two defining moments?
You can do whatever you want, because you're a strong, powerful woman, and you're in charge of this conversation. Don't let my dad.
I'm not bullying. I'm just saying for your own benefit.
I love your dad.
I love your dad. He loves me.
Okay, so two defining moments. Defining moment number one. My mom passed away from breast cancer 19 years ago. Sorry to hear that. And she was the most wonderful person ever. Like, she was an incredible mom, and I'm obviously I miss her a lot. But I grew up with like a Mrs. Cleaver. Like, I would come home from school every day. I know. Okay. I'm showing my age, basically, is what you're telling me. So I would come home from school every day, and she would have warm chocolate chip cookies on the table. And she would, say, hey, let's just go into the living room, and I want to teach you how to ballroom dance this afternoon. I mean, she was so incredible, right? And I grew up, when I became an adult, I loved business. Okay. Actually, I loved it as a kid too. I used to play secretary. A lot of little girls play house with their dolls. I used to play office, right? So when my mom passed away, I belittled myself for not wanting to fix the warm chocolate chip cookies for my kids. I didn't feel like I was worthy as a mom, and I told myself I was less than, because I didn't have a passion for, again, cooking the cookies. Although I love some good Toll House. Don't get me wrong.
When somebody else makes them.
When somebody else makes them. So I was actually at a Bible study, and the whole Bible study topic was discerning the voice of God. And through this Bible study, I actually learned, number one, that I needed to open my ears and receive, advice from a higher power. And all the women in that Bible study, they would get up and talk about when God talks to them. And I'm thinking, he doesn't talk to me. What's up with this? And I learned that I had to open my ears. And number two, I learned through that Bible study that every person on this earth has their own strengths and weaknesses. And my mom, as amazing as she was, had her own strengths and weaknesses. And it was okay that I had a different set of strengths and weaknesses. So that was pivotal moment number one. Pivotal moment number two was when I was actually felt trapped by the golden handcuffs and didn't know how I was going to get out of my job, although I was yearning to do so. And I had to, again, turn up my listening, and learn that I had to let go to let in. I didn't know how I was going to achieve my vision. I had a vision. And I had to trust the process. I had to trust the transformation that was happening, and learn that it was okay that I didn't have everything figured out right this very minute. I had a vision. I was in alignment. I was operating in alignment with my vision, but I didn't know every little detail. And I had to be okay with that. So
that's a little scary. That's always a little scary.
You chose progress over perfection.
I did.
You like that? It's alignment. Stacy, how can people find you? How can people join your community? How can people get involved with your courses? I mean, it's amazing what you're doing, and we love it, and we really appreciate it, and we love meeting people like you. That's, I would say, the best part of this podcast has been meeting incredible people and just incredible entrepreneurs and world changers.
Oh, thank you. So best place to find me online is through my website, stacystjohn.com. If there are any listeners who happen to be women and want to get plugged in to women all around the world who eat, sleep, breathe, and talk short-term rentals every day, my Facebook group is called Female Short-Term Rental Investors. So you can find us on Facebook.
Great name, because very clear what it does.
That's right.
Stacy, thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate you. We really appreciate you. We love what you're doing. You're changing the world. And you've used a platform and built an incredible platform that's helping people across. You don't know how many people's lives you've saved. You know how many people's given them the ability to leave something that they were miserable in, but because they felt empowered, they were able to do so.
Yeah, you're giving them a platform to lay their fears and to have the support, which we all need.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
It's amazing. So thank you so much for coming on. Everybody, we'll see you on the next one, and thanks for listening.
Thank you.